Hey guys, how's it going? It's Baggins here, and today we are going to be talking about some of the changes we've seen to healing over the past couple of weeks of patches, also where my current thoughts are in terms of armor, the Voidbent versus the faction gear versus other stuff, what do you want to be looking for. So yeah, we've got a little bit of a deep dive today, again talking specifically about the healing aspect of New World. But before we do get further into that, I wanted to let you guys know that I am now uploading videos to Facebook Gaming as well. On top of uploading content here to YouTube, and also streaming on Twitch, we have struck a deal with Facebook where I will be uploading exclusive content or exclusive videos over there almost every other day. So if you guys want more Baggins, you want to see more New World, but you're not able to make it to the streams, I'll put a link to the Facebook page in the description down below. If you want to leave it a like, click the follow button. That would be much appreciated. But again, we're still uploading content here on YouTube. We're still streaming on Twitch, but there's just something a little bit extra for you guys there if you are interested. So moving into the bulk of this video, we are going to be talking about the healing changes. Now, the first healing change that we saw to Lifestaff, which was a patch 2 weeks ago, was they made a change to Blissful Touch. So Blissful Touch actually now does exactly what it says in its tooltip here. So light attacks now heal an ally for 20% of the weapon damage when they pass through them. So in order to take that, we do need to get Absolved, and then we need to pick up Blissful Touch as well. Now, previously, what would happen when you took Blissful Touch is you would get this sort of splash AoE effect. You would get like a small circle around your light attacks, which would heal everybody in that area, including yourself. So it used to be possible to fire attacks onto the ground and heal yourself. And I've seen a lot of people upset that this was taken away as they feel like it nerfed the Lifestaff too much. In my own personal opinion, I still think the weapon is very strong. It still provides an insane amount of healing. However, it does mean now that if you want to get that healing effect of firing through people, you have to actually fire the attack through them like this. So it's a little bit more skill intensive. You can't just simply fire it at the ground near your teams anymore. You do have to, like I say, just get it to go straight through people. Previously, the healing numbers weren't showing up. However, I do believe they are now. Either way, I can confirm it still definitely does heal people. And in order to make use of Divine Blessing over here, we are still taking this ability regardless, even if we think it's good or not good. Because as you can see here, if we go for the Sacred Ground, we go for Desperate Speed, Sacred Protection, Intensify, Revitalize. We still are left, you know, how do we get this down here? You need 10 points in this side of the tree. Now, I personally wouldn't recommend taking Divine Embrace or Splash of Light. We've talked about that in the previous video. If you're interested, I'll put a link to it up in the top right. So instead, we're looking to take more of the passives. I think Enchanted Justice is still pretty meh. It's a 120-second cooldown for a pretty small heal for people standing right next to you. Obviously, this one did get nerfed as well. This used to be that you could hold in the heavy attack and then fire it at your feet, and you could also remove debuffs from yourself. However, now it's the same as Blissful Touch, where you have to fire it through people. But I still think this is the better choice over Enchanted Justice. But this may be where like some variation comes in, and over time we may decide we want to go this one instead. But generally, that's what I'm rocking right now. And then we can pick up Divine and Blessing, which we really want to take because it is, I think, like one of the best passives available in all of the skill tree right now. So that's why we're still taking Blissful Touch. It is still good in general, but it also allows us to unlock Divine Blessing. So touch on that, and that's my thoughts on it. It's still a good ability. Yes, it definitely did get nerfed, but it is technically doing what it says it should be doing now, and we still want to take it regardless because we still want to get Divine Blessing. Now, moving on to the second nerf that we saw in the week just gone. I think this happened on Thursday. I'll put a link to the patch notes in the description down below if you guys haven't had a chance to catch up with them. But there was a change made to Orb of Protection. Now, previously, Orb of Protection used to have this Aegis passive just built into it. I don't know if it was bugged. Again, it was just doing AoE like with the Blissful Touch attacks, whereas now, if you fire it on the ground, it doesn't do a splash effect anymore. And if you want to get it to do the splash effect, you have to go all the way down and get Aegis here. And I also have to wait until the ability comes off cooldown as well. And now if we do that, we should see, yeah, that splash effect, which was previously we were just getting basically on the default version of Orb of Protection. So you would see a lot of people who were running Orb would just take the first 2 points. Since the second 2 points, you basically already got just like they were built into the ability. There was actually very little point to take Aegis since it was already, again, baked into the ability. Now, because you have to take the full set of Orb of Protection here, but I think you also want to take a good amount of upgrades on Beacon over here as well. And then naturally, we still want to make sure that we go and get Divine Blessing over here, so we take all of the relevant abilities that would allow us to do that. We only have 1 point left to play with now, which makes things pretty awkward, because we would really like to take Bend Light. That is a pretty excellent passive there, getting 20% more heal every time you dodge. Also just getting 10% more healing here, getting the Fortify, just basically a 15% damage reduction whenever we click our heavy attacks, maybe wanting to take movement speed on here. There's so many things that you are sort of giving up on by taking the fully pimped out Orb of Protection that I feel like it's a very hard ability to actively take now, whereas vice versa, with Light's Embrace, it's still good with just a single upgrade. You can get this one if you just want to heal your tank, but Light's Embrace requires much less, like, you don't need to assign as many things to it in order to take it, and then because you don't need to, like, fully spec out Light's Embrace, you can just, like, have it be excellent with the tier 1 upgrade. You can still take Protector's Strength, you can still take Protector's Touch, you can still take Bend Light, and then we can even go for Spirits United if we imagine that we hadn't put all these points into Orb of Protection. So, for me, what I'm trying to say is Orb of Protection basically requires too many talent points in order to make it good, and even then, I don't actually think it's that good. It's a small heal over time. It does have a fairly frequent like uptime in terms of, you know, you can cast it once every, what are we looking at here? Every 9 seconds basically, and then if we would Revitalize, it's going to be even more frequently. But I just think Beacon and Sacred Ground end up being better AoE heals. One thing that Orb of Protection has going for it is it does provide a 10% damage reduction. However, what we're going to be moving to now in the video is talking about perks on your armor, and you can see here with these gloves I have Fortifying Sacred Ground, which means allies take less damage when they're healed by the Sacred Ground. So if I took a little bit of damage and then I put down my, I actually need to take Sacred Ground, hold on one second. So if I take some damage, like so, and then we go ahead and pop our Sacred Ground down, when I step into it, I now have a, what was it, 15% damage reduction or something like that? 14% damage reduction. So already I have a better passive than what Orb of Protection provides just by equipping one piece of armor like this. So I personally just don't find there to be too much value in Orb myself. My usual healing build actually kind of looks like this these days. You've probably seen it in the previous video. We go Blissful Touch, we take all of the good stuff over here that we want. And then we go Bend Light, we take Beacon with 3 upgrades into it. We obviously take Light's Embrace just with 1 upgrade. Sometimes you take Inspire if you're like healing a tank or something, but for me, I'm not really doing too many expeditions these days, and I don't think the expeditions are so hard that you need to make sure you get Inspire for your tank. Maybe if it's like your first time doing the Depths or something against Captain Thorpe, that can be pretty spooky. But yeah, this is what our build typically looks like these days. I find this to work in all forms of content, even including wars, which some people find strange. Maybe you would want to take just all AoE healing in wars, but I actually find Light's Embrace to be pretty damn excellent. It's such a huge heal on such a low cooldown. It's basically just like having a health potion, but instead of having a 29-second cooldown, it's got like a 3.5-second cooldown, and you can use it on teammates as well as yourself. So Light's Embrace is just like a really insanely good heal right now. With the change to the meta and moving into the second portion of the video here, they've made it so that Resilient, which says critical hits deal 4.8% less damage to you or 4.5% less damage to you, and with the Voidbent 4.8, you know, some variation of like damage reduction. It was actually all damage, not just critical damage. All damage was like up to, you know, 4.8% less, which was very insane. Since then, they have fixed that. It is now just critical hits dealing less damage to you. Everybody is taking quite a bit more damage because a lot of people were utilizing this Resilient bug loophole, including myself. As you can see, it was just like, it was the done thing. Everybody's doing it. But now that everybody is no longer receiving the benefits of damage reduction from Resilient, everybody is like taking like 25 to 30% more damage, which ends up being quite a lot in wars. And as a result of that, you need like to react with a spike, a quick amount of healing when you're receiving a quick amount of damage, and Light's Embrace feels like it does that just perfectly. Now obviously Fortify could help with that, but as we mentioned earlier, the Fortify from Sacred Ground is already better if you have the Fortifying Sacred Ground talent. So moving on to the armor section, as you guys may have been able to tell, one perk that I really recommend you get on armor is Fortifying Sacred Ground, because that damage reduction is going to help you a lot in this no Resilient meta anymore, no damage reduction meta. And then on top of that, I've also been running Revitalizing Beacon on my boots. Now these are medium boots, and I would like to replace them with heavy boots, but it's the best that I've been able to find at the current time. I find heavy armor just to be really excellent. Again, with the changes to Resilient, everybody's taking more damage, including yourself, and just having no Resilient and wearing medium or even light armor, I just feel so incredibly squishy. Like if people find me in a war or a big PvP scenario, I'm just in so much trouble now. But the heavy armor definitely does mitigate that a lot. I really do feel like heavy armor Lifestaff is very meta right now. On top of that, If you guys didn't already know, the light or medium armor benefit that you get, where it says you get 10% more healing in medium armor or 20% more healing in light armor, that's currently not working either. So it just feels like there isn't really that much reason to take medium or light armor, other than you deal a little bit more damage, but you don't really care about that as a healer, and you get more dodges, which again is pretty nice. But I also just find that if you get yourself caught off guard, you can actually take quite a few hits in heavy armor, especially if you're standing in your fortifying sacred ground. So I am still rocking heavy at this point, and I use heavy for all forms of content. I think there is maybe some justification for using medium in PvE, like doing expeditions and stuff, but yeah, heavy just seems to be all-round good right now with the Lifestaff. And on top of that, as I mentioned, perks that I think you want to be looking out for are Fortifying Sacred Ground for that damage reduction and Revitalizing Beacon. Let me show you guys how this is working a little bit, so we're going to go need to take some damage again. Okay, so we've managed to take a little bit of damage here, throwing ourselves off of some cliffs. So if we cast a Sacred Ground down, that's not a Sacred Ground. If we cast a Sacred Ground down over here, and then we step into it, we're going to see the healing numbers of 623, 623, 623. Now, if we take advantage of the Revitalizing Beacon effect, it says using Beacon increases healing power on self by 36% for 12 seconds. So if we just fire Beacon off into the distance over here, we don't even need to step into it, we just fire it. We get the Beacon buff of Revitalizing Beacon, and then we step in here. Previously it was 623. Now it's 866, so a pretty significant increase in the amount of healing that gives you. And for some reason, although it's not as significant as an increase, I did test this out on the stream a week or two ago. It also increases the healing power that you have when you're healing allies as well. I'm really not sure exactly what it means with the tooltip, because it does say healing power on self, but I don't know if that means that you get more outgoing healing. I have noticed that you do heal yourself for more than the healing bonus that you get for allies, but I can confirm you still do heal your allies for more with this Revitalizing Beacon perk. So all around, it's just good. You keep yourself alive to a significant amount, and then you keep your allies alive for just, again, more benefits. So all around, Revitalizing Beacon seems to be an excellent perk as well. The other perks that we get to improve Orb of Protection, Light's Embrace, and Divine Embrace, I really haven't experimented too much with yet, so I'll need to get back to you guys when I find out exactly how good I feel those are. Knowing that I pretty much always use Beacon and Sacred Ground, it feels like taking these perks are a no-brainer on our gear. Now, in terms of what else to look for, I think going for Refreshing is always a good idea as well. So on our faction armor here, we do have Refreshing, which reduces our cooldowns by 2.5%. On top of that, taking Resilient isn't necessarily a bad idea. If somebody manages to hit you in the back or hits you with a headshot, or they just generally get lucky and get a crit, the Resilient does reduce that damage by a significant margin. I've actually heard it's bugged right now, and crits actually hit you for less damage than a normal hit would hit you for, which is pretty funny and very in theme with New World. So Resilient's still not a bad perk to go for, especially if you're orientated to PvP and looking to stay alive, but I would highly recommend that you get Fortifying Sacred Ground and Revitalizing Beacon on pieces of gear. As far as I can tell, these perks don't stack right now, so you don't need more than one of these. And then finally, when it comes to the Lifestaff, you could also look to get Fortifying Sacred Ground on your Lifestaff instead of on a piece of armor, and then again just look for Refreshing and Resilience still. But I think the go-to perks that you ideally want to get on the Lifestaff are Blessed and Refreshing moves. So both of these perks exist on the Lifestaff that comes from the Lazarus Instrumentality, which is the highest endgame dungeon in the game right now. Also, there is a Lifestaff that comes from Outpost Rush that's called Lifebinder. That is a pretty excellent Lifestaff as well. It does exist at 600 gear score. You gotta get pretty lucky to get it out of the Outpost Rush cache, but definitely one I think that's worth targeting for, because it does have that Fortifying Sacred Ground perk on it, just like I have here on my gloves. The last thing that I could think to mention for this video is my stat distribution. Now, right now, as you can see, I've actually avoided getting more stats into focus. I've just kind of stopped at the 250 point, and instead we've gone pretty heavily into Constitution, trying to get as much Constitution from my armor as possible. Now, people ask me, should I go for a full Voidbent set? In my opinion, it's not really that good. Like, it is 600 gear score, it does have Resilient, but outside of that, the other perks you don't really care too much about. Invigorated and Look don't really like they're pretty good perks. Look, obviously in PvE is nice, but it doesn't really do anything in PvP currently. And on top of that, it means that you're missing out on a lot of focus that you could be getting from other pieces of gear, and you still need a good amount of focus in order to do decent healing. So my personal opinion with going for a full Voidbent set is I don't think that you should do it compared to like how much gold and time you would spend trying to farm out a full Voidbent set. You'd be better off just trying to find or craft some gloves that have some decent perks on and hopefully have the appropriate stats. Like even now, these gloves that I'm wearing aren't super optimal because they have 9 dexterity. So if I just spent the equivalent amount of gold that I would get trying to get Voidbent gloves and instead just keep trying to make a better pair of these, I think that would be a better way to spend my time and my in-game gold. The reason why we go for such a high amount of constitution is when I eat constitution food, I can go well over the 200 constitution mark, which just makes me very, very difficult to kill in PvP. But I still provide pretty insane healing at the same time, because although we don't have the 300 focus, I don't think the heals between 250 to 300 focus are that great. I also believe that the 300 focus perk that you get isn't really that good either. So all in all, it just feels like Constitution is a more valuable stat to me. People ask about intelligence or strength, which you could go for if you're a bit more solo orientated or you're looking to do a bit of damage on the side. But for me, I'm playing the role of the healer, and that is like what I'm dedicated to. I want to stay alive so I can keep healing my teammates. If I die, then I can't heal anybody. So that's why I value having so many points into Constitution. Again, this is coming from more of a PvP standpoint of things, so if you are more PvE orientated, maybe you want to look to mix up the stats a little bit here. But I hope you guys have found this video useful. Again, I just wanted to share some thoughts on where I'm currently at with the changes to the game, with the changes to Blissful Touch and Orb of Protection. I feel like Amazon probably have more changes for the Lifestaff coming in the future, as it is a bit of a heated topic. You know, this heals are too powerful, heals are too weak. If you nerf the Lifestaff, it's going to be awful in PvE. So I feel like Amazon are going to continue to make changes on it. In my personal opinion, I feel like a lot of the complaints are coming from people finding it too hard to deal with in PvP. To that response, I would say that I'd rather see them first of all add more abilities like Infected Hatchet or Infected Throw into the game, which reduces the target's healing efficiency. It's right now there's only one ability in the game. It is this ability, which reduces the amount of healing the Lifestaff can do. I'd love to see this ability effect, this disease effect, exist on different abilities in the game as well. I think that would create a bit more of a sort of way to play around healing. Right now, you basically have to just look to CC them in some way and then burst them down. It is doable, especially with the resilient changes, but I do understand where people come from when they say Lifestaff is very powerful in PvP. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the changes, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, any further thoughts, let me know in the comments down below. Again, if you want more content, if you want more Baggins, you can find them over on facebook.com/BagginsTV. I'll put a link to that again in the description down below. And yeah, let me know what future videos you guys would like to see on New World. Right now, it feels like we're a little bit of a stalemate while we're waiting for some new content. They are making a lot of good changes to the game. If more changes happen to the Lifestaff, I'll be sure to keep you guys posted on here, so make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss out on those videos. But as always, guys, I'll see you all in the next one.